Welcome to this presentation where I'm going to take you beyond Amazon and we're going to talk about building a real brand to escape what I call the Amazon Goldfish Bowl. So let's get into it. I want to start by telling you about a problem that so many of us have in our e-commerce businesses. And the problem is that the gurus will tell you that how to win on Amazon is to have an optimized listing, professional photos, A+ or enhanced brand content, and to have your PPC dialed in. To which I say, well, duh. That is just table stakes. What that is effectively saying is that if we have a good enough listing, good enough PPC, then it's going to work. And it kind of will work until it doesn't. Unfortunately, that kind of approach makes you and your business just a hamster on a wheel chasing sales. It's exhausting. Just look at this little guy. It's not a great way to run a business. I certainly don't want to run my business like that. Now, some people are doing it slightly better. They have what I would call almost like a hamster farm, right? They have several hamsters. And if you have more than one hamster, great. If one of those hamsters dies or has to visit the vet, then the wheels aren't going to fall completely off your business. But the problems with these hamster farms is that the hamsters are in cages. They don't interact. Hamster A is running on a wheel to sell a hairbrush. Hamster B is running on a wheel to sell a garden hose. They don't understand each other. They can't help each other. It's not cohesive. It doesn't make sense. And it's a pretty miserable way to run a business. Look at that hamster farm. That looks pretty depressing to me. The reality is that that's not sustainable. And businesses like that are highly vulnerable. And what they're vulnerable to are legit brands who sneak up on them and suddenly own the entire niche across all of those random products that those hamster farms are selling because they're acting like legit brands. And I'm going to show you what that looks like in a few minutes. I've got some more bad news, I'm afraid. It gets worse. Introducing the Amazon Goldfish Bowl. But this isn't just any goldfish bowl. That goldfish does look pretty depressed, I've got to say, right? Because he's stuck in that one ecosystem and he can't get out. But it gets worse than that. Remember I mentioned hamsters? Well, unfortunately, due to a science experiment gone wrong, the hamsters and the goldfish have been breeding, and we've got famsters, right? These are genetically modified goldfish hamster hybrids. And one thing you may or may not know about hybrids is that they are weak. They are genetically weak. This is why you cross a lion and a tiger to get a liger in a zoo, and they always get diseased, right? Because they are genetically weak. And the fact is the hamsters don't belong in water, and so they can't compete there. They might seem cool, but they are vulnerable and they cannot compete, all right? A famster in the Amazon Goldfish Bowl is limited by its environment. There's only one source of food, Amazon. You're just praying that they keep sprinkling fish food into the top of the goldfish bowl. There's only one water filter, that's your conversion rate, one oxygen pump, your PPC, and there's no escape. On the other hand, you contrast that with a real brand, like say this shark, swimming wild and free, where it can interact with influencer crabs and email marketing rays and social media clownfish, right? All sorts of things to interact with, and he can swim anywhere in the ocean he wants. So how do we get out of that goldfish bowl and act like a shark brand living wild and free? Because if you don't get outside of the goldfish bowl and treat your business with the respect it deserves, like a legit brand, then number one, you're just a famster on a wheel. Number two, it's just a job. And number three, you can't sell it. And that's why so many of us are doing this. We want to build a business that we can eventually sell for big bucks. So we're going to get into it, but first I want to just give you a bit of background on who I am and why I'm qualified to be here. So, who on earth is this guy? Well, my name's Ben Leonard. I founded a strength and conditioning brand called Beast Gear here in the UK. I grew that to a point where we were doing $6 million in sales every year, and then I sold it, and it was the first European brand to be sold to one of the big aggregators who emerged around about 2019. I've actually just bought that business back because the guys I sold it to tanked it. And I'm gonna turn that around, and I'll touch more on that later. Now I'm building new brands, selling on Amazon, direct to consumer, getting into retail. I consult with others to help them with their businesses. I help others to sell their businesses with Ecom Brokers, which I co-founded, and I'm the co-founder of the growth and retention marketing agency Peregrine Commerce. So here's what most people do. They get the sale. Fantastic. We want sales. And then they chase more sales. And it's this constant exhausting process of praying for sales and chasing sales on Amazon, looking for the latest hacks, hoping that your PPC keeps working. And that's kind of more or less it. You're stuck in that environment. Here's what we're going to do. Now, this first diagram is absolute basic table stakes. At the very minimum, we want to have a group of products that make sense together. Notice how all those little wheels are interacting, are overlapping, those little flywheels. Okay, so for instance, I mentioned Beast Gear, my first brand. We sold strength gear, boxing gear, and conditioning gear. Well, these are some of our boxing products. They all make sense together. Someone wants the boxing gloves, they're also going to want the focus pads, for example. It's a cohesive brand. A brand is a group of products that solve problems for a particular group of people. Now, getting a bit better, we also want to have our own website, obviously. This is still complete basic table stakes, right? You should understand this already. Any brand that takes itself seriously has its own website. Otherwise, customers are going to see you on Amazon, look up your website, see you don't have a website, or even worse, you have a bad website. They're going to say, that doesn't look very legit, and they're not going to buy from you. And preferably you build that on Shopify because it's the best platform out there, in my opinion. So far, so normal, okay? Now, getting better, something we want to aim for, is to have a brand that is omnipresent. We're selling on multiple international Amazon marketplaces. We're selling on our own website. We're on other channels too, like Walmart, TikTok, bricks and mortar retail, perhaps wholesale e-tailers like Faire. Now, granted, you can't do all of this straight off the bat, but this is what to aim for. This is kind of like that analogy of aiming for the moon and landing among the stars. This is kind of what we want to have on our horizon, okay? But how can we get that moving? How can we actually get sales on those channels? The answer is that we need fuel to get that flywheel started. Flywheels are big and heavy, and to get them moving takes a lot of effort. So we need fuel. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to get sales on these platforms anyway, because we're doing the bog standard stuff that the gurus are telling us to do, right? Good listings, PPC dialed in, enhanced brand content, good reviews. Fine. Basics, right? And I would imagine most people watching this are doing that already. Then we're going to take the customers that we acquire by doing that and drive them into these external flywheels, these external channels that legit brands use. So things like blogs, press, paid ads, YouTube, social media, having your own app for your brand, email marketing for your brand, having a podcast for your brand, or sponsoring podcasts. You don't have to do all of these, but your own favorite brands are doing these, okay? And then we use those external channels to drive more sales, right? So it's an unstoppable flywheel. We use customers to drive external channels, and we use those external channels to drive our sales. And I'm going to show you how we're going to do it. But first, unfortunately, I have to get up on my high horse and deliver a little bit of a lecture for a moment. You see, none of those external channels actually matter, and nothing I'm going to say in the rest of this presentation matters if you don't have a quality product. The number one way to make that flywheel start flying is quality product. You cannot out-hack or out-market a crappy product. Here's a case in point from my own work. My new baby carrier, which will launch soon, at the time of this recording, has been 4 years in development. I've invested £50,000 of my own money into developing it, 10 rounds of prototyping, because you absolutely have to get it right. And as a side note, I don't know anyone in this industry who actually reveals their own brands like I do. Now, I could have launched it, by the way, that's my cute son. I could have launched it after only 3 prototypes. It certainly would have been a lot quicker and cheaper, but it would have failed because it wasn't good enough. So the market would have trashed it. There wasn't enough rocket fuel there to get that flywheel moving because crappy products do not market themselves, right? On the other hand, quality products which solve real problems and have real USPs do market themselves, right? You know, we all remember when the first iPhone came out. Yes, they had great marketing, but mostly you heard about it from your annoying friends and colleagues who had one and wouldn't shut up about it. because it was a quality product, and quality products market themselves. Now, I'm not comparing my baby carrier to the iPhone. I'm not comparing myself to Steve Jobs or Tim Cook. But I am saying that all the dads at the dad groups, because it's a baby carrier for dads, will be telling their dad friends about it because it's a quality product. Let me put it another way. If you have a weak product, there is no traction to get the flywheel moving. You're going to have bad reviews. There's going to be no word of mouth. No one's going to be posting it on social. You're not going to get unsolicited press. No one actually cares. There's no oomph there to get it going. But if you have a banging product, you have traction, right? Suddenly the cogs are moving in those flywheels, right? It will market itself through great reviews, unsolicited press attention, social media from customers, organic word of mouth, and of course influencers are going to want to work with you, but they don't want to work with bad products, right? So that is the most important thing. Quality product is the basis of everything in your business. Literally everything else in your business is built on quality product. If you have a crap product, you have a crap business. And that's the end of that lecture. So now we can start to dig into these flywheels, okay? And I'd like to start by talking about an entrepreneur I really respect. Her name is Ella Woodward, known as Deliciously Ella. She's a vegan food blogger. I am not a vegan, but I respect her work. So she started as a vegan food blogger and started to take the recipes from her blogs and put them into recipe books. Great. And her business first looked like this. She had her books and she had a podcast. So she got her blog fans to go to her podcast, and that ranked her podcast. And suddenly all these people who are interested in her vegan content would listen to the podcast and say, I'm going to buy her recipe book. And then her recipe book got ranked on channels like Amazon. And those people would buy the book and they'd see in there, oh, she's got this podcast. I'm going to go listen to it. And so she has this infinite loop. Well, now her empire looks like this. She has all of these channels. She's got a wellness hub with free yoga videos and yoga routines and things. She has free recipes. She's got a YouTube channel. She's all over social. She's got an app. She's got an email newsletter. She has her own podcast. And she has fantastic blogs. And she uses these channels to monetize her business through her books, through food products in the supermarket, through a paid membership, and even through a restaurant. And all of these things interact. So she might drive people to a particular YouTube episode from her newsletter. Or she might say on her podcast that there's a wellness hub section to go along with this podcast, right? She's playing the long game and interacting with all these things, and eventually people will know, like, and trust her enough to buy from her. And by the way, she just sold that business for something like £30 million. So she's done a pretty good job. And we're going to take inspiration from that and build our own flywheels through owned media and earned media and make smart, positive feedback loops. And we can't touch on them all today, but we're going to touch on those highlighted in orange there. And the first one is from owned media, and it's social media. And people will come to me and they'll say, Ben, what should I post on social media for my e-commerce brand? I have absolutely no idea what to post or where to start. And why should I even bother? Like, is this really going to move the needle? Is it going to make a difference? Like, how am I going to get more sales tomorrow just by posting on Amazon now, posting on social now? And you should bother is the answer. Because we're going to build an unstoppable flywheel. Now, this diagram looks big and overwhelming and complicated, and I will explain it. But for now, you just have to know that we will use social media in the middle there to drive sales. And we're going to take our customers that we acquire on the channels we're on, such as Amazon, drive them into our social to bring in new customers. And I'll explain how that works. But before we can do that, we need to understand a bit more about social. You see, marketing to your tribe is easy. It's easy to sell to people who already love your brand, right? So we have to make them love us in the first place, right? Now, Gary Vaynerchuk, pictured there, some people love him, some people hate him. He was right, though, when he said, and he wrote a book by this title, Jab, 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 Right Hook. And what that basically means is give, 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 ask. Right? Your marketing shouldn't be constantly selling, saying, buy my stuff, buy my stuff, buy my stuff. You should be providing value, then asking for the sale. So the key question is, well, what value do we offer? Well, we offer helpful, compelling, engaging, useful content that positions your brand as an authority in your niche and makes the audience know, like, and trust you. So we have to deliver content that our audience actually wants and needs as it relates to your niche. That could be, knitting, or it could be motorcycle accessories, whatever it might be, okay? So what do they want? What does your audience actually want? And how do you find out? Well, you should have a good idea, because I like to get people to build brands around topics that they're already passionate about anyway. But we can go further, and we can build a customer avatar to understand what they want. Now, I'm not going to dig into how to build a customer avatar right now. I've done plenty of videos on that before, but you need to know where on the internet they're hanging out and give them information that they value and trust. And if there's one thing I've learned over the years, it's that authentic content wins, right? That's the advantage we have as nimble e-commerce business owners, okay? So let me give you some examples, okay, of some e-commerce content that matches an avatar. In this case, the avatar of my first brand, Beastgear. So with Beastgear, I knew where my audience was and I knew what they wanted. And so I created both organic and raw content and more polished content for them. So on the left-hand side, we've got this organic and raw content. I started to find that my customers were messaging us and emailing us, and they kind of seemed to think that we were some big faceless corporation, and I wasn't happy with that. So I started creating this sort of behind-the-scenes raw content of me just doing stuff in the business. So in that screenshot there, it's a video of me in my garage sorting through some inventory, and that kind of content really resonated with our audience. On the other hand, we would polish up UGC that our customers would post. So we would encourage our customers to post about us on social. They loved doing it. It's a great niche for doing that, is fitness. And we would take that content, brand it up, post it, tag that customer who now loves us forever because they posted on social in order to get attention. And now the brand that they posted about is actually reposting them and paying attention to them. So they love that. And now we have all this free content, which actually converts better than, photo shoot content because it's social proof, right? It's real people. And that is something that I would highly recommend. But some of you are probably watching this now saying, yeah, but I don't have any UGC. No one's posting about my brand, and I don't know what to post. Well, I found this bonsai kit on Amazon, and the brand has no social media presence. And I bet the owner thinks the same thing that some of you might be thinking. I don't know what to post. I have no UGC. It's too difficult to do. And yet, look at this feed of curated bonsai content. I found this within a few minutes of searching on Instagram. What this account has done is it's taken the top performing content on Instagram from, let's say, the top 10 or 20 bonsai tree creators and just curated it and posted it. And so they've built a huge following and positioned themselves as authorities in the niche. So if you had a bonsai tree brand, a bonsai accessory brand, you could curate content like this and then occasionally throw that right hook and ask for the sale. And guess what? You can actually buy accounts that are ready to go. You can go on websites like Swap Socials and Social Tradia and buy accounts that have got engaged audiences in whatever niche you like. Look, there's an example there of an organic gardening account, only $600, and then start selling to that audience, right? That's wonderful, but how does that actually help you make any money? Well, let me explain. First of all, we have to get traffic to our social media, right? How are we going to do that? You often hear in marketing, I'll certainly tell people, if you build it, they won't come. It's not like in Field of Dreams where Kevin Costner builds the baseball ground and the ghosts of the baseball players come and baseball fans come. You can't just slap something on Amazon or put up a Shopify site and suddenly people are going to buy from you. It's not going to happen. But on social media, actually, if you build it, they do come. If you post quality content, it will get picked up by the algorithm and shown to more people. Okay? If you post quality content about bonsai trees, the algorithm will show it to bonsai tree fans. And if they enjoy it, guess what? It will start showing them more of your content. And so they move down the funnel from awareness to consideration, and they start to consider your brand as an authority in the niche that they trust because you're presenting this excellent content to them. And eventually they are going to convert, okay? And you're going to sell to them at the bottom of the funnel. But also, right, we can drive our existing customers into social. We'll tell our existing customers, hey, we have this great guide on how to look after this bonsai tree species on our Instagram account. Here's the link. They go and check it out. And guess what? They actually say, oh, not only is that product that I bought from them on Amazon really good, but now they have this excellent educational content, and they're going to start to constantly consume your content to know more and more and more about your niche, right? And they become more loyal. And when you have that kind of trifecta of quality product, quality experience with that product, and quality content, you get brand advocates who are now basically legit fans of your brand. And so next time they need something related to your niche, they're not going to go search for, knitting stuff or motorcycle stuff or bonsai stuff. They're going to search for your brand first, maybe specifically going to your website. So back to that big horrible diagram. It looks quite complicated, but it isn't. We'll start here at sales generation, right, in the top right. So you're getting sales already, either on Amazon because you're stuck in the Goldfish bowl, or hopefully on some other channels too. And because you're smart, you're getting their email address, you're getting their phone number from the Shopify checkout maybe, or you've got inserts in your products and your packaging, and I'll show you some examples to get your customers from Amazon into your system, right? And we're going to say to our customers, hey, go check out this post on social media, or just go check out our account. And when we do that, the algorithm gets very excited. It says, oh, all these people who like bonsai trees are enjoying this content. We're going to show it to other people who like bonsai trees because they'll probably enjoy it too. And so new leads come in to the flywheel, to the system. And eventually they're going to move down that funnel because they know, like, and trust you enough that they're going to go back to where your sales channels are and they're going to buy from you. And so we have this unstoppable flywheel. So here's some examples of how that works in action, okay? So you would sell your product, let's say on Amazon, and you scan a code. And I'm going to give you some examples of why people would even scan a code in a minute, but some compelling reason, perhaps a user guide I like to use. And I like to deliver those on landing pages, or in this example, chatbots. This screenshot shows the end of a chatbot conversation. And you can see there that I am now driving you to my Instagram and Facebook. You could choose TikTok or whatever you want. So that's where I'm taking my existing customers, driving them to social, and now social is going to go show it to other people like my customers, right? Here's a different example. This is an order confirmation email sent to my customers who've just ordered. And in the PS, I'm telling my customers to go check us out on social. And now social is very smart. It's going to say, oh, I should show this to more people like them. And that's how we get more people in. And your competitors are stuck in the Amazon Goldfish bowl, and you're absolutely crushing it if you do this type of thing. Now, the next example I want to show you from owned media is YouTube. YouTube can be huge for brands, and yet people ask me, what should I post on YouTube for my e-commerce brand, and why should I even bother? Well, let me show you. It's exactly the same as for social, but with a few key differences. Obviously, you have to produce content to match your avatar that is genuinely valuable, that positions your brand as a competent authority that people know, like, and trust. And just like for social, we're going to acquire our customers, and because we're being clever and getting their email address, getting them out of Amazon's system and getting them into our system, we're going to have that information and be able to drive them to our YouTube channel. So, hey, we've got this great video that shows you exactly how to look after your bonsai tree so that you don't kill it. And those people want to go and watch that video because that's a compelling thing. I don't want to kill my bonsai tree, right? And YouTube says, oh, these people are enjoying it. I'm going to start showing this to more people who like bonsai. And it's going to bring in those new leads who are going to consume that content, who are going to move down the funnel from awareness to advocates and buy from you, right? Now, let me show you a real life example from my own work. So with my first brand, Beast Gear, we sold these boxing hand wraps. These are bandages that go over your hands before you put your boxing gloves on. And I wanted to educate customers to make sure that they had a good product experience. So the customer got their hand wraps and then they scanned a code to get a user guide and a demo video because I needed them to understand how to use it properly so I wouldn't get bad reviews. Scan the code, they'd land in this chatbot where I'd say, hey, here's the demo video. And they would click the button to go get the demo video. And they would land on the YouTube video. Now notice this YouTube video is terrible production quality. It was filmed on an old phone at my kitchen table. Doesn't need to be slick production quality. Now, when I recorded this, it was initially just to help customers. But the unexpected outcome was that this actually brought in new brand enthusiasts. And now I've had 8 million views. More than 8 million views. Now, have I sold 8 million pairs of boxing hand wraps? No, absolutely not. So what happened? Well, number one, I drove my customers to the video. and they found that content helpful. And so they subscribed to the channel and consumed more content. So that video and the channel as a whole got ranked. And YouTube started to show it to people who didn't know my brand, but they were searching for boxing information or how to wrap their hands for boxing. So this brought in new leads. And those new leads would watch the video and then click the link in the video or the description, and they would go and buy from me. So that got me more sales, which got me ranked on Amazon. So I've got two flywheels driving each other. I'm taking my Amazon customers to rank the video, and I'm using video leads to rank the product. And I now have an unstoppable flywheel, and my competitors didn't have a clue what was going on. And that's how we crushed everyone. Or, coming back to that bonsai example, I could say, don't kill your tree, learn to wire it properly. Customer is gonna scan that code. That's loss aversion. Nobody wants to buy a bonsai wiring kit and then kill their tree. So they're gonna say, oh yeah, I better watch the video. They scan the code, they go watch the video, YouTube brings in more leads, and so on and so forth, right? It's absolutely unstoppable. And your competitors don't know what's hit them because they just have this whole I'm an Amazon business mindset, and they don't think to do this. Now, little growth hack for you, right? You can take your, if you don't have a YouTube channel for your brand, set one up, and where it says your channel ID in that URL, replace that with your channel ID, and append sub_confirmation equals 1 to the end. And then take that whole URL and make it into like a pretty URL, like yourbrand.com/YT, or a QR code, or both, and put that onto your packaging, inserts, etc. What that does, that's a deep link, and on desktop, that will just pop up a subscribe box, and 99 times out of 100, people are going to hit subscribe, so that's going to grow your YouTube subscription base. And on mobile, on phone, it's going to be a deep link into the app. And the subscribe button is right there, and a ton of people are going to hit that. So that's a growth hack for your brand's YouTube channel. And your competitors ain't doing it, and that's how you win. Now, the next little owned media method I want to teach you is apps, okay? Now, you might be thinking, oh, come on, apps? Like, isn't that like in 2017 when everyone was giving away free PDFs with their products and the PDFs were terrible? No, this is way more valuable. It adds a lot of value versus your competitors, and you can use it as a marketing channel, and I'll show you how. And it positions your brand as a competent authority and builds trust. So for instance, coming back to that bonsai example, you're browsing and you see that it comes with a free app. It's a comprehensive care guide for every species. And none of the others on Amazon have that. Of course, that adds more value. I want to know how to care for all the bonsai species, and it would be really useful to have that on my phone so I can be doing my bonsai stuff and I can just look at my phone on what I need to do. That adds a ton of value. So think about how can you apply that to your brand, right? So coming to our diagram again, we acquire our customers who want the product because it comes with an app, right? And then guess what? We give them the instructions in the product to go and get the app. So they end up in the app store, which guess what? Ranks the app. And so people who haven't bought our product but do want a comprehensive care guide for bonsai trees, these new leads also get our app. And then they're going to buy from us because inside the app, we're going to market to them and say, okay, here's the care guide for this bonsai species, the Chinese elm, and you're going to need all these products, and here's the links to them. And we could even make those Amazon Associates links or link them straight to our website, whatever we want to do, okay? And your competitors certainly aren't doing that. And so you can see here, we take those new leads, they find us on the App Store, they become aware of us, they get the app, they consider inside the app if they want to buy one of these products, they're enjoying the app, it's useful, yes, I need these products to save my tree, and so then they go and buy from us, and eventually they become brand advocates. So how could you apply that to your brand? Okay, it's an unstoppable flywheel, you should certainly think about it. And you don't have to be a genius to create apps, right? Tools like Good Barber or Drag and Drop, and even idiots like me can make a very basic app. And it only has to be a basic app. And your competitors are stuck in the Amazon Goldfish bowl, and you could be doing that. Now, the next channel I want to talk about that real brands use is podcasts, okay? Now, we all listen to our favorite podcasts, okay? Here's Kevin King on the AM PM podcast if you're into Amazon. And the question is, why can't you have one for your brand? There's no reason. Like Ella gave herself permission to have a podcast right at the very beginning when she might otherwise have said, oh, well, you know, this is just got a couple of recipe books. I don't really need a podcast. No, she gave herself permission to act like a legit brand. And she's been very smart with it. because she uses it to cross-pollinate her channels, right? You know, she's using the podcast to drive people into her wellness hub and into her app because there are accompanying resources there for each episode. She's playing the long game. But before long, those people are going to be converted, right? There's so many touch points that they're always going to see the brand, right? Whether they're scrolling social, they've opened YouTube, they're in their email inbox, they open Spotify, and there's the podcast. And that is how you create cult-like fans of the brand. She's building an unstoppable flywheel. Now, here's a little podcast hack for you. You can use your product to rank your podcast and your podcast to rank your product. Let me show you how. So you get your customers, and on your packaging, it might say, scan here for the best bonsai podcast. And if I've just bought a bonsai tree product and everyone likes podcasts, why would I not want to be like, oh yeah, I could listen to a bonsai podcast while I'm doing my bonsai tree stuff, right? So you scan the code and it's a deep link into Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And that's going to rank the podcast, right? And this is going to bring in new leads who have not bought my product, but they do find me on the podcast app, right? And they're into bonsai. But then on the podcast, they hear all about my brand because it's our podcast and we're sponsoring our own podcast. So they go buy our product wherever we want, let's say Amazon. And so now we rank Amazon. So we use our customers to rank the podcast and the podcast to rank our product. It's an unstoppable flywheel. So for instance, the product arrives, scan here for the world's best bonsai podcast. That's really compelling. A big conversion rate is going to scan that. You could even run ads. So I mentioned there deep links into Apple Podcasts. So what if I ran Instagram ads targeting only Apple device users? Okay. And I know they like bonsai. I know they've got Apple. And I know most people listen to podcasts. So then they click the link in the app, in the ad that says, number one bonsai podcast. And that is going to instantly grow my podcast like crazy and bring in new leads to my brand. And this is a real thing. Like, here's a bonsai podcast called Bonsai Wire. Here is the Instagram feed of one of the hosts of said podcast, right? And look at the views he's getting on his reels, sort of 4,000 or 5,000 a day, and then occasionally bigger ones like 16,000, 15,000, 10,000. And here's his website where he sells bonsai related products. So it works, but guess what? That website's terrible. Like, look at it, it's awful. Looks like it was done on Microsoft Paint. So there's huge opportunity to come in and win. So this is how you make your own podcast deep link. You just take your podcast link for your podcast on Apple or Spotify if you've got one and make a QR code out of it. It's very simple, right? But you could just sponsor a podcast. Here's an example of a niche jiu-jitsu podcast which is sponsored by an electrolyte brand and a training gear brand. And it's not that hard. You don't have to be like AG1 sponsoring the Huberman podcast. You can just give yourself permission to do that. Your competitors certainly aren't doing it. They're stuck in the Amazon Goldfish Bowl. Now, the next opportunity I want to talk to you about is influencers, okay? This is more earned media, okay? Influencers lend social proof, authority, and credibility to our business. But you do not need to be working with famous people with a zillion followers, right? Absolutely not. What you need is to find authentic leaders in your niche. And that might be people with like a few thousand followers. An engaged audience, and they need to produce quality content. And that doesn't mean slick production. It just means that what they talk about is good and trustworthy and makes sense. And people in your niche recognize that they know what they're talking about. So here's some examples from my own work. We worked with micro-influencers like Scotland's first professional female boxer, Kristen Fraser, Welsh champion boxer Kieran Gethin, and Scotland's former strongest man, Jim Gerrard. Not world famous, but very respected in their niche, which gave our brand credibility and relatability to our target audience. Now, it's very easy to do this, right? But it's just a lot of heavy lifting. But you've got to identify who you want to work with, build a strong relationship with them, use reciprocity by saying, hey, listen, we're going to give you this product if you'll talk about us, and then we'll give you more products. Get them to engage, create content briefs for them and make sure they follow it, get them to actually create and post the content, and then maintain engagement with them over time. It's a lot of effort, but a straightforward process. The example you can see there is actually a feed from a baking brand that's actually a client of ours at Peregrine. And you can see that every day they're getting, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 views. But then every so often, or actually pretty frequently, they're getting, 50,000, 12,000, 300,000. I think we had a 900,000 the other day views. And they are absolutely crushing their competition because there's not necessarily an ROI on saying, oh, I'm going to post now and then we're going to get paid. We're going to get more sales tomorrow. It's not about that. It's the compounding effect of showing up every day like your own favorite real brands do. And that's the mindset you got to get into. And you can use influencer content on Amazon. So for example, adding that content to video ads in search results. We all know we need to use video ads. But if your target customer is scrolling Amazon and then they see an influencer that they recognize and respect advertising your product, they're way more likely to A, click, and B, then buy your product. And you could put those videos as well on the actual product detail pages, which is also going to really help conversions. It's going to add authority, add credibility, give you social proof, and basically make the customer feel better about buying your product. My buddy John Durkitz is one of the most respected people in the e-commerce and Amazon world, and he was telling me that actually adding video to your product display page on Amazon increases sales by 9.7%. So why would you not want to do that? And sometimes, if you have a quality product and you're working in the right way to position your product and your brand as a real brand, when it comes to influencers, you might just create your own luck and get unsolicited influencer representation. So this is a very famous MMA fighter. This is Michael Venom Page, and I did not pay him. I had no relationship with him whatsoever. But one day I woke up and found out that he'd used my product and appeared like this on live TV with the Beast Gear mouth guard because the way we'd positioned the brand was working. Him and his team had gone to the effort of getting our product and using it, right? Not because we had a relationship with him, but because we were acting like a real brand and we weren't stuck in the Amazon Goldfish bowl. And influencer juju, right, can be sprinkled everywhere, right? If this is your brand and all the external channels that you can use, influencers will nudge every part of that flywheel, okay? You can start name dropping them in press, YouTube, social, your newsletters, podcasts you might appear on. They're going to talk about you in all of their channels. Potentially, you might get more press because you have a relationship with a particular influencer. So influencers just amplify everything that you're doing. And your competitors aren't doing it. They are stuck in the Amazon Goldfish bowl. Next example I want to talk about is press. All right, so press, again, this is more earned media. Press gives us free exposure, positions our brand as an authority, and gives us credibility. All right, and here's what I like to do. I like to search for brands who are maybe bigger than me, a bit more established than me, who I grudgingly respect, but I kind of secretly hate them, and find the press they've got. And then pitch those journalists on my product and my brand instead. Offer them affiliate codes, offer them pay-per-click deals, for instance. Here's some examples of press that Beast Gear got. As it happens, these were all organic. The journalists just picked up on our brand because we were acting like a real brand. But now I give all of this content a boost by seeking out those journalists and building relationships with them. Okay, so that every time they need to create a new article, they'll talk about us. Because journalists have deadlines. They don't want to have to think. They're just like, oh yeah, we'll use Beast Gear again. And when you start getting press, you'll find that there's a ripple effect. And I like to game the system. So just like all the other flywheels, I drive my existing customers to the press. And I say, hey, customers, come check this out. We were featured in here. Here's the link. Go check it out. And, for example, I might email that to our customers. Okay. And guess what happens? That article gets ranked, which brings in more traffic, okay, who become aware of my brand and move down the funnel. But also, when that happens, the organizations who wrote about us, the news articles and the magazines and whatnot, they say, that's interesting. Every time we feature Ben's brand, we get tons of traffic and clicks. Let's keep featuring that brand, okay? And so that's how we keep showing up in the press. And our competitors aren't doing it because they just think, oh yeah, I just sell stuff on Amazon. They don't think to do this, all right? There is no overnight success to doing this though, right? All of this takes time. It's about the compounding effect of being consistent and showing up every day, right? But let me show you how this actually makes a difference. A few years ago, this may have been your niche on, say, Amazon, right? Everyone being generic famsters, because it was easy. We could all do that and we could all coexist quite happily. But I came in and I look at this when I started in my niche. And I was like, well, what would happen if I acted like a real brand? I launched Beast Gear and acted like a real brand. The truth is, actually, I didn't know about Amazon when I started developing Beast Gear products. So I was always going for it from a brand point of view. But when I started acting like a real brand, guess what? I started to beat the famster competition. And they didn't even know what was going on. And this is how we rose to the top and crushed everyone and became the #1 strength and conditioning brand in the UK and Europe. And that's how we won. And that's how we got acquired. Now, take a look at Famster Fred. He's a client of mine. He had a successful brand because it was easy to be a famster. Everyone could be a famster. But then some of his competitors started to cotton on to acting like a real brand and doing some of the things I've been telling you about. And over time, things got worse for Fred and his business really suffered, and now he's very sad. Thankfully, he's come to me for help and we're turning things around for him. But the most critical thing to remember is that everything in your business is going to be weak and wobbly and unstable if you don't have a quality product. Everything I've just said to you doesn't matter if you don't have a quality product. It's simply not going to work. Okay, so if you don't have a quality product, back to the drawing board, get a quality product before you do anything I've told you. I said earlier that my brand Beast Gear got acquired and that the owners trashed it and I bought it back. Well, I'm documenting the entire rescue mission as to how we turn it around. You can go to brandrescuemission.com where I am in radical detail explaining how I'm turning that business around. I don't think anyone else is doing that in our niche. You can get me all over social. I'm on all these channels at Ben Leonard Pro. And you can get my book, Quit Stalling and Build Your Brand, for free at peregrinecommerce.com, or you can pay full price on Amazon, whatever you like. But peregrinecommerce.com for the free book. We are the growth marketing agency that helps Amazon businesses do all the stuff you should be doing outside of Amazon to win both on Amazon and off Amazon and look, feel, and behave like a legit consumer product brand that is sustainable, that scales, that you can build into something that you can one day sell. So if you want our help, head to peregrinecommerce.com. Thanks.